What's going on, guys? Welcome to a brand new episode of Profiling Passionate People. I am your host, Salman Ladvinka, and today, as you can see, again, I'm rocking that Seahawks jersey, that number 12, and I've got a lot of Seahawks fans, but I got to bring in the guy, the man, the myth, the legend, that he actually goes by the nickname, The Hawk. So let me go ahead and bring him in right here. How you doing, sir?
What's going on, man? I'm the Hawk.
Nice to have you on here, and I know we've been chit-chatting for a couple of days here now, and that's just the power of social media. You know, you can just hashtag something, or you can find a cool Hawks fan group, and then sure enough, here we are, probably best friends for life after this. And I mean, to be determined, of course, but you know, it's just great having you on. But right before we just got on the air here, you're a Hawks fan, and you're living in where now?
I live in Pennsylvania.
That is amazing.
Northeastern Pennsylvania.
Okay, so up near the Philadelphia area kind of thing?
We're kind of like right in the middle of Philly, Pittsburgh. You know, there's a lot of Giants fans here, and there's even a lot of Cowboys.
Okay, so born and raised up in that area?
Yeah, I was actually born right outside of Pittsburgh, believe it or not. And then,
Wow.
eventually down the road, we ended up moving to NEPA. We lived deep in NEPA for, I want to say, like 20 some years.
Wow, okay. So, I mean, you got all these teams that are around you. I'm sure you didn't want to fit in with the social norm. And so is that how you became a Hawks fan, or how did it all come about?
It's a little bit of a long story, but I mean, it is what it is. My mother was into football. She's actually a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, but she also follows the Eagles because it's Pennsylvania.
Of
And
course.
she would always bring me in to watch like the big games. One of my first games I remember was the Green Bay Packers versus the New England Patriots in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And watching that game, Green Bay ended up winning. That was probably one of my first teams, and I liked them because of Brett Favre.
Yeah.
Then in like the early 2000s, I generally started liking football, and they were my team. So
Yeah.
one of the reasons I liked Green Bay was because of Brett Favre. Well,
Yeah.
they started talking about him not, retiring one day, and it was just like a little thing that was going on. And I was just sitting there thinking to myself, like, I don't know if I want to be a Packers fan. And like I'm looking at all of these. Like I decided to look at all the teams in the NFL, like all of them, and I didn't know which one I wanted to like at the time, and it was 2003.
Okay.
I saw the Seahawks. I think at the time they only had like 5 seasons with a not losing record, and I was like, these guys are like the underdogs. They don't have a lot of playoff wins. Steve Largent was like the biggest name in Seattle, Kurt Warner at the time.
Yeah.
So I'm like, fuck it. Let's go with the Seahawks.
Yeah.
Matt Hasselbeck actually played underneath Favre. So I'm like, that's what it was. And like, as soon as I went with the Seahawks, I've been a Seahawks fan ever since.
Okay. So obviously very passionate, very loyal. I see for the most part, that corner of your room is nice and decked out. And I see that 16. Is that a personalized jersey, or is that my guy Lockett?
That is Tyler Lockett. He is currently my favorite player on the team right now.
Honestly, I mean, I'll talk about him in 2 seconds. As you can see, I'm rocking my guy, Earl Thomas, and it's just a shame, what happened with him and how he's not in the league right now. But, it is what it is. But, there's been so many great Seahawks seasons, and, leading up to this upcoming season, there's a lot of missing pieces that people will kind of second guess or doubt their ability. But I have a very bold prediction for you at the end of this podcast of how I feel you guys' team is going to end up. But I'm curious. So with you being out in Upper Pennsylvania, have you been to Seattle to see a game or see them live for any games?
I actually haven't seen an NFL game live at all, but I do.
Wow.
I want to try to go see the Pittsburgh Seattle game this year. I believe the game is in early October. The tickets aren't too expensive. It's not too bad out in Heinz Field, so I want to go and give that a shot.
Okay. So that'll be the first time seeing your team in person.
Yep.
Wow, there you go. Yeah, man. I mean, you look at this upcoming schedule. We got 17 games this year. Gonna be a little bit different platform, but I love the fact that Russell Wilson is the leader that he is. Obviously there was a lot of trade rumors. And before I dive into that, what did you make of the trade rumors? And could you actually have believed, Russ could be traded to a different team or moving on from the Hawks?
Uh, During that entire time, it to me, it just kind of seemed very media driven.
Yeah.
He was talking about like how, if there was a trade, it's not him. It's not a thing that he has control over. It's a business at the end of the day. And he answered a question he probably shouldn't have answered when it came to the offensive line. It's one of the 3 rules in Seattle, and he broke one. You never blame another player, an aspect of their game plan.
True.
And that ended up happening. So then we had this fixed animosity, like this media driven animosity between Russell and the organization, and then he came out and said another thing he shouldn't have said, which is what teams would he play for if he did get traded? Which, when I read this stuff and I listen to it, it's just like, okay, he's just answering the question. Me, ultimately, I had no fear of him getting traded. I do not think he's going to go anywhere. He's said it multiple times throughout his career that he wants to stay in Seattle. His biggest goal in Seattle is to get us multiple rings, and I believe the man when he says that. So, I have no fear whatsoever this season, next season, the next 5 years that he's going to be with Seattle.
Yeah, absolutely. And you look at the NFC West, it is just, in my opinion, it's probably the most stacked and the most probably feared division in the league. You have the Seahawks that are coming off 12-4. You have the Rams that are now bringing in Stafford. So that's to be determined. Their defense is just absolutely crazy. And, you got both 99s over there with Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey. You got whoever's playing quarterback for the Niners. Clearly, they were very injury prone last year. So it's going to be a little bit of toss up to see how they're going to look. But you can't sleep on them Cardinals. You add a couple extra pieces on that defense, but that NFC West, in my opinion, I still feel that it runs through Seattle. I see Seattle doing a lot of great things and going very deep into these playoffs. And again, I'll give you my prediction here in a couple of minutes, but just being a fan just of football, it's hard not to like the Seahawks. You look at the Russell Wilson, you look at Chris Carson, you look at DK Metcalf, who's just an absolute beast of a specimen. But the guy who does not get the most love is the guy you're rocking right now. And I've watched that kid ever since he was at Kansas State, just how shifty he is. You can either throw him the 9-ball or he can do the deep inner post. And that boy is just going to go up for it. He's a gamer, he's a baller, and that's why I keep choosing him in fantasy, because he somehow seems to show up every single week. So yeah, that is a wonderful jersey you got on there, and yeah, great man to support for sure.
It's crazy how much he doesn't get love, especially in the conversations of like the best number 2 wide receivers in the NFL and, the best slots. Like Lockett runs options almost 50% of the routes he runs. They're almost all options. So he's not only just running routes, he's got to use his brain, and dissect defenses as well. He looks at defenses like a quarterback does in some sense. He usually makes the right decision on what he has to do. So, I mean, Lockett, phenomenal player. You could put his highlight film up against anybody's highlight film in the league right now. So, phenomenal hands, great route runner. He doesn't have like the breakaway speed, but he is fast enough.
Yeah.
But yeah, just love the man. He's really, really good. And I think he's going to have his best year yet this year.
Yeah. I mean, the guy is shifty, he's crafty. And the fact that he has that perfect chemistry with Russell Wilson, where they know where he's going to go. They're both going to read the defenses very well. And Russ just knows where to put it at. And should you give Russ that time in that pocket and allow Lockett to speed down the field, those moon balls are just absolutely unbelievable. And I'm hoping that you'll be able to experience that in person, when they play the Steelers. But yeah, this team, they can fire on all cylinders. They have so many different weapons. So let's go ahead and let's dive into the schedule really quick. There's a lot of marquee matchups. You look at week 1. Yeah, it would be nice to see Carson Wentz with the Colts, but they really do have a monster backfield, if you want to call it that. I mean, Jonathan Taylor, Marlon Mack, Naheem Hines. I mean, they've got, different players, but honestly, week one, I still see you guys taking that one pretty easily in my books. Other people are telling me otherwise, but I mean, that's why we just get to come on here and chit chat. So I know that we have 17 games this year, can't go 12-4 this year, but honestly, in my opinion, I see you guys potentially going either 13-4 or even 14-3, just to be honest with you. And obviously taking first in the NFC West. So how do you see it? I mean, we got you guys week 2 are hosting the Titans. Obviously 2 games each against the Rams, the Niners, and the Cards. Like you said, October 17th at Pittsburgh. You guys will be hosting the Saints. Yeah, it's just I like your guys' schedule. I really do.
This is the way I see it. When I make predictions on a season, I kind of like put like windows, like a high and a low.
Yeah.
I'll say the high for Seattle is 13-14 wins this year.
Definitely.
The low, I don't see it being any worse than 10.
Yeah.
Ultimately, what it's going to come down for Seattle is their worst matchup in their division, which right now is the LA Rams.
Okay.
Los Angeles, they've got 2 speed guys now. They have a quarterback with a very, very strong arm who's doing very well in training camps, OTAs. Now, I'm not sure if we've seen him in the preseason yet, but Stafford's really, really talented. And it kind of sucks seeing a quarterback of that caliber in the division that's not Russ.
Yeah.
I'm just going to go out on a limb and say it's between those two 100%.
Yeah.
Now, when you go down to Arizona, they're kind of like the dark horse in the division because not a lot of people really talk about Arizona. But right now they have one of the best defensive lines in the game with the Niners. The Niners have one of the best defensive lines in the game. They were just hurt last year, so we forgot completely. Yeah. But it's really just going to go down to that. Like, how well are they going to play in their division? If we go 4-2, 5-1 in the division, we're probably going to win 13-14 games. But if we kind of split, go down 2-4, maybe, probably going to lose it to LA.
Yeah. Okay.
But ultimately, I'm pretty confident with this season. I do think that we're going to be strong. I think the biggest piece for us this offseason, the best signing in our opinion, in my opinion, was getting Shane Waldron, the new offensive coordinator. It's going to, I think that's going to be huge for us. So, we'll see. Week 1's right around the corner. Hopefully we see a little bit more tonight against the Broncos to see what that offense is going to look like. But, we'll see.
I know we're just a couple weeks away and we got some preseason still to look forward to, but yeah, I mean, like you said, just the chemistry I feel like with Russell Wilson and the new OC and just how they're going to vibe and how they're going to gel. But this sounds, obviously because this is passionate fans for the podcast, but honestly, in my opinion, I think the overall factor of how well the Seahawks are going to do is that 12th man. And I've never experienced it inside of their stadium, but the fact that they were without fans all last season, as was everyone in the league, but that fan base is just so loud and the decibels that they get for that team. And, yes, you guys lost in the first or against the Rams in the playoffs last year, but I think without those fans and with the fans, I think it's going to make a huge, significant difference with this upcoming season. That's just my opinion. So
it's definitely going to make a difference. It has to. There's no way it's not, I know it's weird because I feel like Seattle has kind of lost its reputation over the last few years as one of the toughest places to play in.
Yeah.
For some reason, they're giving it to like Kansas City. I guess they're doing well right now. You know what I mean? Like they're magically just kind of, moving them to the side. But it's the hardest place to play with record for the most false starts on the opposing team for a reason.
Yeah.
So that is going to be a huge factor. It's a factor not a lot of people are really talking about. So.
Yeah, the CenturyLink Field, they're going to be loud and rowdy for week 2 against those Titans. So we will see. But yeah, I've got big expectations for you guys. Like I said, starting off week 1, I know I have a strong feeling that the Hawks will be able to take it in Indianapolis. So it's to be determined. My friend, thank you so much for coming on here. I'm sure we'll be seeing you in the near future for sure, as I'm going to do like picks and lead ups to the upcoming weeks and all that stuff. So that is the Hawk right there. I am Solomon. We just talked about some Seahawks football. We'll catch you guys next time on Profiling Passionate People. Thank you guys.